inspiration to others. You have a right to be confident and proud. You have a right to remain yourself.
Newsflash, I am hot. Burning up on what you not. Burning up, don't get too close. Burning up, you do the most.
We are live.
Woo! Okay. Welcome to the first official episode of The Right to Remain Yourself. I'm your host, Kadi, and we have
your host, WolfGangJoc.
This is our first official podcast. I know a lot of y'all probably didn't see this coming, but we've been working on this for like how long? A couple months now.
Yeah, definitely a couple months.
Since like
definitely.
August. Before we even get into our podcast and what this whole show is going to be about, I want you to touch on a little bit like how you got here. Let's start with you.
All right, so a little backstory. Okay, let's go way back.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Kadi been friends since like grade school. I'm talking about like little kids, like third, fourth grade. Since I was doing the music and stuff like that, she always used to look me out, book me for like shows at her school and stuff like that or whatever. And, we still kept in decent contact. Lives was going on. I became a police officer, as some of you may know. And when I became a police officer, I still stood for what I stood for. And I spoke up on some things on, pertaining to George Floyd murder, and was terminated from my job. After that, things started moving really fast. I was like all over everywhere, talking and showing up places and stuff like that. And then Kadi came to me one day at right before one of these talks, and she was like, "I got an idea." And I'm like, "What?" And she was like, "Just hear me out." And she was like, "What about a podcast?" And I'm like, "Then that's so crazy," because I was thinking about doing a podcast. I just really didn't know where to start, And Kadi she's brilliant with this type of stuff. So she was like, "Look, it can be like this. It was already laid out. And I'm like,
I'm so glad that you mentioned we knew each other since grade school, elementary school.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I even came up with the idea to do the podcast, I think what makes it so dope is anybody who knew us, we're both from East Orange, New Jersey. Jersey, stand up.
Facts.
I always feel like I got to put that out there because when people do big things, I don't think a lot of people realize the amount of talent that's in East Orange. Like,
my God,
even combining us with North. East Orange have their own talent. Shout out to Whitney Houston. Shout out to Notori Norton. Like, we got some heavy hitters from East Orange, so don't sleep.
Heavy hitters.
But anybody who have known either one of us all our lives, one word that we both could be described with is authenticity. Nothing
God,
like, for y'all who don't know, he mentioned he was a little light with it, but he was the one, I know you probably saw him on the Shade Room, on World Star, the officer that spoke up about the injustice that went on with George Floyd when he was murdered.
Exactly.
And that Quay that spoke in that video with the uniform is the Quay that I knew since third grade. Like, nothing happens by coincidence. Like, where you are now, what we're doing now, I'm pretty sure anybody who have known us from families to friends to classmates will be like, yeah, I would have guessed this for y'all. But the circumstances of what brought us here, specifically me being inspired by you, and even that moment that happened with you where you ended up getting fired and gained a lot of attention just from being yourself. The right to remain yourself just sounds so perfect for this podcast.
It was perfect. You came with it, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like,
because in the time of social media, it's hard to find authenticity. I heard somebody say before, the best compliment anyone can ever give you is to say that you're authentic. Because that means you are who you say you are. You not like, in different environments, of course, you adjust your tone, but you should never adjust your character. And like, now that we're adults, I'm sure people listening, y'all have jobs, y'all have like, different hats. Some of y'all are parents, me and Quay are both parents. Nothing should change about your character as your world changes or your environment changes.
That's a fact.
So y'all about to get some real realness. This whole episode,
realness.
I'm so excited. And since this episode is dropping a week before the new year, what better way than to start off by talking about what 2020 has taught us, because 2020 has been the realest year. Like, I promise you, I don't remember any other year, but I would never forget the year 2020 at all.
2020 was reckless. It was reckless. It was reckless in good ways, but it was reckless in bad ways as well. But let's get into it. Like, let's start with you. What 2020 taught you?
Oh, 2020 has taught me a lot, but we're going to break it down to the lessons. The first and main lesson before even the drama, because I've been telling everybody, like, when 2020 hit, I don't know, something in my spirit. I know every year we say new year, new me, or this is going to be my year, but I'm telling you, December 2019, I just kept saying, like, yo, 2020, I know, like, it's going to be a great year. And granted, I use the word great loosely, but in a sense it was, because it was the most challenging. And the most challenging lesson I personally learned this year is that you can't please everyone and please yourself at the same time. Because
that's a fact. That is a fact.
My relationships between friendship, family, everything was shooken up. And I realized that I use my need to serve people or be there for people, specifically the people I love, is a distraction for me. And as much as it sounds like the good thing to do, I realized I was doing it in a way to disservice myself. It was like, okay, it was a lot of things that I wasn't working on, dealing with, or just focused on with myself. But because I was being there for other people and pleasing other people, that gave me the gratification that I thought I needed, versus really sit with yourself and get taken accountability for the things that you should be focused on with yourself. So I truly believe that the ultimate battle, the ultimate fight you're ever going to have is learning when to be selfish.
Ooh, jeez, that's deep.
Bro.
All right, I got him. So first and foremost, 2020 taught me so many things. Like, I'm sure it taught you guys as well. But I gotta start off with the power of the Black community.
Period.
What? You talking about we showed up, we showed out, we did what we needed to do. Like, we came in the game, the coach ain't tell us nothing. It was like, yo, it's go time, get out there. And we put 1 billion points on the board. Just salute to all the protests that went on around the world that was pushing forward for a better time and a better living for us. That's one.
Right.
Number two, y'all showed up with this presidential election. Like,
period.
We had to get old boy out the door.
Period.
Y'all came through. Like, I
don't think people understand how big it is that we turned a lot of red states blue.
What?
Especially out south.
Flipping them. Yo, flipping them. I'm talking about, and that's the crazy part, because most of the red states were the South states. So being that they were being flipped like that, that's major, because slavery and oppression is like embedded in them states. Like, so that was major. But we showed out. And last but not least, the support that my community had for me. Oh my goodness.
Can we talk about that? Did you I want to know, before we even get to how you got all that support, just the decision to do what you did or say what you said. Like, we're going to enter the clip. We got to enter that clip.
Let's talk things that happened in Minneapolis, cop standpoint, right? I am disgusted with the things that happened in Minneapolis. Period, point blank. Things could have went way different. At the end of the day, let's talk facts. The guy is on the ground. He's laying on his stomach. He have handcuffs on. It's 4 of y'all, 1 of him. 4 of y'all, 1 of him. Who has control of this situation? It's not much one person could do against 4 people. Now let's get deeper, right? As an officer, you are a first responder, right? So if in the midst of you trying to gain compliance, someone is hurt, you have to render aid. So somebody's saying, I can't breathe. You don't think to yourself and say, oh my gosh, this guy can't breathe. He might die. Let me render aid, right? Another point, other officers, if you're going to be an officer that's going to stand there and not help when things go wrong, come on, like, you don't see that? That's the reason I got behind this badge, right? Because I want them officers that's afraid to step up, I want to be the one to step up. If I see wrong happening, wrong is not happening in my presence, right? I'm going to check it. And that's period.
But yeah, when you sat there and made that video, what thought process were you coming from?
I was just angry. Like for a minute, I had slowed down on like watching videos of us being oppressed and us treated badly, right? Because it would just make me angry, right? And even though we were out there trying to get our voices heard and make it and moving steps towards that, to equality, but it seemed like we just still wasn't, being heard. So I was just angry, and then I was low key angry with myself, for real, because I'm sitting here in this police car in this police uniform in this video of somebody who looked just like me, being treated that way and being murdered. I was upset. Like I was upset. So I didn't even put too much thought into it. I just let my heart speak, and I went out there and I was like, yo, boom, this is how I feel about the situation. And, these are the facts. So at the end of the day, I knew it would get a lot of flack, but I didn't know it was going to be, lead to like me being terminated from my position as a police officer. So,
right.
But I'm glad. Even right now, I still wouldn't take it back. I'm glad I stood up for my people. I'm going to continue to stand up for my people because that's how it is. Like,
I think what happened with you is a perfect example of what Black people, especially our generation, millennials, need to understand, that with change does not take place without sacrifice. I know we don't compare it to our ancestors, whereas like the level of sacrifice they had to take was literally blood and death. You know what I'm saying? For their freedom. You were from the jumping off the boats, from running away, risking being murdered, killed, from being lynched. That's the extreme sacrifice that we've learned about through, history. But in this midst with change, it takes sacrifice. It's no way that
that's a fact.
Just saying we want change and not realizing that we might have to shake up the justice system, or not even just the justice system, the norm. And I know a lot of people experience that on different levels, as far as just like, being an officer is just the more evident, like, oh, the officers killed him. Why is this officer talking down on the justice system? But people experience this everywhere, from corporate environments at their jobs. Like, yo, you gotta be comfortable with making motherfuckers uncomfortable when it's necessary. And you might have to sacrifice some things.
That's
but
a bar.
In the long run,
that's
look at your situation. It worked out.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a bar. Say that bar again. That's a bar. Like, you got to be comfortable with making people uncomfortable. Like, that's the fact.
You got to be comfortable with making people uncomfortable. Like, that's just is what it is. I think 2020 has taught us that, because we turned up in a way after that George Floyd situation. I think we really turned up in a way that we have yet to turn up as far as in this generation. Like, we had the Trayvon Martin. We had a bunch. I think with what happened with George Floyd, from it even being recorded, and then it just being 2020 sensitive times. It happened during COVID, right? So we had all that going on. We just was at this point, we're fed up. Like, we were.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was like we've been knocking on this door forever. Knocking, and our knocks been going unheard, and we've been on the opposite end of that door. Like, look, we about to come in. Look, we about to come. Forget all that. Look, we about to come in. Time to kick the door in. And that's just what we started to do. They started to understand that nothing really moves without us. That's what they started to understand. They started to really understand like how much power that we had in so many different things. Like, and that's crazy, because that leads me to like my next one, right? So my next one was the power of the black dollar. Like, I really learned the significance in that, the power of the black dollar. Like, what? You had these companies coming out and they was doing whatever they was doing with their little subliminal stuff. And bro, when one of us like, it's done, we boycotting, it's over. The company is putting out apologies. They crying because it's hurting their company, because we are controlling that. And people have been telling us that for the longest, like, yo, stop putting your money into this and start putting your money into this. And you got to hit them where it hurt at. And in America, the only place that it hurt at is this money.
At all, period. That's the only language that's universal. They will never, like, you can't expect another race to understand your racist struggles if they haven't really walked in the shoes. So we can only communicate to them in a language that they understand. It's like talking to kids. You can't sit there and have a whole articulate, conversation with a kid. You got to put in baby terms. You got to speak a language that's universal for both of y'all. So it's crazy, because that leads into one of my next lessons that kind of ties in with COVID, COVID taught us that, we really cannot rely on the government.
Ooh.
We can't rely on the government. We can't rely on them to care about us more than we care about ourselves. And COVID taught us that in so many ways, from physically, between this virus, like never in a million years, you could tell me that a virus would come unexpectedly, quote unquote, and hit America. Like when I heard about COVID, to me, it was still a conspiracy theory because we didn't know it hit America yet. So people were talking about it like, yo, what's happening in China? They're like dropping death like flies. I had a girl at work that would talk about it all day. And she would tell me like, yeah, it's on YouTube. You got to watch it. I'll be listening to her. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really the type to be into conspiracy theories. So I'm just on some shit like, yeah, that's wild, but that's not finna happen here. And I promise you, less than like a month later, we getting calls. All right, we gotta shut everything down. Everybody have to leave the building.
That's crazy because around March, I remember being in the lineup room and my sergeant at the time was like, we got this, the COVID stuff going on, everybody, nobody was really believing it. It was a conspiracy. Like, it's like, all right, well, we don't know, if it's true, or they saying it's like the flu. They gave us masks. I remember they gave us masks and glasses and like gloves. And it was like, yo, you should wear this when you getting out the car and stuff. No officer was wearing that because it was like, we couldn't believe it. It wasn't mandatory. And like a little bit before I got fired, that's when it became like, because it was like in the height of everything. That's when it became like mandatory. Where it's like, if you go into it, because they were saying that if you go to a call and you got to walk into somebody's house, don't walk in the house without gloves and the mask on, right? But no, we was just like, bro, it ain't that serious. Let's go in this house and figure out what's going on with this situation. But it's crazy because it became bigger than what we thought it was. And now everybody like in mask, and mask is like normal, it's like mandatory and stuff like that. It's some officers you can get tickets for not wearing the mask down here in North Carolina. So
they're doing that up here too. Up north, they was really giving out them tickets. They didn't even care. It's crazy because it's not even just the physical part. Financially, one of the lessons I learned is there's no such thing as a good job, because once when COVID hit and the money hit, where I don't watch executives, I worked for Viacom, executives got laid off, people who invested 20, 30, 40 years into these companies dropped
big.
At the dime on the unemployment line with the same person who was flipping burgers at McDonald's. First of all the jobs that we tend to look down on, working at McDonald's, fast food, they stayed open. They stayed open. There was no layoffs on their end. It was, these jobs, that salary making jobs, we was the ones that was shaking up. So it really taught me there's no such thing as a good job, and just staying financially stable. Credit.
That's so crazy.
Get your credit right.
This is why we was like meant to do this, right? Together. Let me tell you why. Because it's just flowing. What you just said just opened up the door for like my next thing that I learned in COVID. So, all right, boom. My next thing that I learned in COVID was that saying with great risk come great reward is a fact. You said all these people that put in this time and they was comfortable at these companies, right? 20, 30 years at these companies, and the company is starting to go under and they just laying them off just like that, right? Because, we in this pandemic crisis, we in this financial crisis and stuff like that. So now it's like, all right, we need to make room for the important stuff that they think is important or whatever. And everybody else got to, get laid off and stuff like that. And I say that saying with great risk comes great reward is the truth, because like me, and I know plenty of other people, they sat at that 9-to-5 job and they was thinking about different ideas. Like, I got to do this. I need to do this. I need to open this business. But everybody was comfortable, even me, and it was scared to take that risk. I remember, it's so crazy. Before they fired me, I remember praying, right? I was praying all the way up into that hearing that I had with them. But I remember praying right before I went into the little interview thing, the little hearing or whatever. And I'm like, I've been praying to run my business and open my business or whatever. And I know policing is slowing me down and stuff like that. But I'm like, yo, look, God, if it's for me, then give it to me. If it's not, then take it away. Like, this is the prayer I said right before I walked in there in front of that deputy chief. And the moment I walked in there and we got finished talking and then they deliberated and I came back, it was the termination of my job. So it just put everything, it's like everything started to move slow motion. it put everything into perspective. And I was like, okay, I just opened up this hot dog business. I need to go full force with that, which I was doing it on my 4 days off, but I'm like, no, I need to go real hard with this.
Right.
And it gave me a reason, like, and it's just crazy because at times, I heard Steve Harvey say this one time, right? He said, how do you know that you're able to fly if you never take that leap? If you never jump, how do you know if you're going to fly or not? Like, how do you know if you're going to fly if you never take that leap?
Right.
And even though my leap came, it was like forced, but it still showed me like, yo, now it made me bet on life differently. Like I started to move different. I started to take more risks. Like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. What's the worst you can hear? No.
Right.
Stop, not have no support. It is what it is, right? You got to just keep pushing forward, you know? So that's one thing that it really,
it's crazy that you said that, because I used to beat myself up about the fact that I feel like some of the greatest things I've ever done in my life was when my back was against the wall. When I'm comfortable, I'm comfortable. And it's not even, it's crazy. Being comfortable, you don't even be happy. Like, you just be like, that's it. Because what people don't realize, being human beings, our number one purpose is purpose. There's no such thing as yesterday. You can't hold yesterday. You can't hold tomorrow. All you have is the present moment. And every day, if you wake up and you're not fulfilling some sort of a purpose, I know a lot of people confuse the word purpose as for dream job or, making a lot of money. No, it's just wake up today and do something that, one, is going to impact your soul, but also impact others. And we need to have something like that every single day. And it's like, when you're comfortable, especially, like, it's not normal, the lifestyle we live of just working, paying bills, coming home and doing all over again.
That's not normal.
On the weekends
That's not normal.
That's not normal. That's not what
normal.
Humans were. God did not have that in mind when he created the human species.
If people don't understand that, your purpose,
it don't matter how much money you make. Look at these celebrities, how the same struggle we was going through as regular 9-to-5 workers, these celebrities, it was hitting them twice as much. So money is definitely not the factor.
Yeah. And the money is definitely not the factor. And that saying that money don't buy you happiness, that's a fact. If you're not happy with yourself, you know, I could have $1 million right now, right? And I could still walk around here upset, like, damn, like I gotta, something just not right. Like, and I get to a point where, like, I feel like that often. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough, right? And you'll see people around you, they're like, yo, damn, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that.
Right.
And me, personally, I know what I'm capable of. And I'll be like, damn, I'm still not doing enough, right? And I get to a point where I call it like feeling like SpongeBob. Like, I get up, I'm throwing the same uniform, I'm going to the same job, and I'm just like, I'm ready. And it's mind-boggling to me that people become comfortable with that, and make it a norm. It's crazy.
Right.
Like, it's just,
I don't really think they're comfortable. They just became comfortable with being uncomfortable, because there's nothing about the human experience that should make you just okay with just getting up, going to work, paying your bills. Like, I don't care how much you making. Like, you need purpose. You need to wake up and feel like you're really living, like you're doing something. It don't always got to be extreme. It just got to speak to the soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, even you doing that video, as you sat there and risk your salary job, your pension, whatever, your insurance, that moment where you use a 10, 15-second clip to speak on how you felt, that filled you more than however much you was getting paid or how much money you had working as a police officer. So I think that's what, like, yo, if you did not learn that 2020 and you walk in that with that mentality, still just comfortable with just living in a cycle, God bless you, 2021. It will not be a good year for you. Don't even play yourself.
That's crazy. Let's give him another one.
Okay.
All right. So I got two more, but one before this last one. Healthcare is the best care. Let me say that again. 2020 taught me healthcare is the best care, because, again, when you get stuck into that mindset in that realm of being comfortable, right? You just, you just start to do things that you think is normal. I really just was saying this to my wife, right? I was saying this to her. I said, I'm like, yo, why do we eat food that is not good for us.
Good for us.
And it don't even, and the crazy part is it don't even taste that good. It's just like, it's satisfying. It's a fast, satisfaction. It's satisfying at that moment, right? You go to McDonald's and you can eat food, and then at the end of the day, your stomach be hurting, and you be like, damn, why do? But you keep doing it, right? You keep, oh my gosh, it's like, and being in this pandemic and becoming more health conscious, like you going through supermarkets and you talking in banks and you wherever you at and you got a mask on. I'm like, yo, when they relieve us of these masks, it's still gonna be certain places I'm gonna wear that mask. Like, what it is, like, it's just being more like I definitely became more health conscious. Like, I'm wiping down everything. I'm sanitizing a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally do, but it woke me up. And then it made you think, like, these people that's catching it and they're dying from it, and they're having, like, even if they're not having underlying problems, but the ones who are having, underlying problems and stuff like that, it just wake you up. It's like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to be hospitalized. I don't want to be stuck doing the same thing over and over. I had met this young guy one time when I was driving Lyft, and I was in Atlanta. I was driving Lyft, and I met this young guy, and he was 26, and I'm talking to him, and I'm dropping him off 5:30 in the morning, and we pull up to like one of the diabetic places, where they gotta get their stuff done or whatever. He goes every morning at 5:30. And the process, I think he said the process is like a couple hours every morning at 5:30, and he go for a couple hours, and he like, it's the most painful process. But he was like, it's his fault because of what he was putting in his body, just growing up, because he wasn't born diabetic, but it just seemed that's just what happened. And it just, at that time, it woke me up too. But then as a person, you fall back and you get comfortable again, and you start putting the bull in your body and stuff like that. But 2020, they definitely showed me that healthcare is the best care.
It's crazy because I went through, like, this pandemic really taught me how a lot of, when it comes to healthcare or just taking care of your body, it's really an addiction to some of the bad stuff that we eat or some of the bad habits that we have. Because for that first week when we were like, when I was still working right before I got laid off, they had us working from home. And I'm like, oh, this shit lit. I'm about to put on Netflix. I'm about to give me some bang ass food. I was eating out every single day, ordering out food or eating my comfort foods and just watching movies like, yo, this is the life. This is the life. And eventually, like, I just woke up like, yo, this is not the life. Like, this thing has control over me. Like, it ties back to the lesson with the government. Yo, the government don't got you. They really just let hundreds of thousands of people die, knowing, regardless whether it was going to be COVID or anything that came along with COVID. It's not like I don't have a fear of COVID anymore. I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, I was really OCD, but I feel like COVID is just the surface of really the bigger underlying issues, because a lot of the deaths were due to their poor health in the first place. And the poor health came from the everyday foods you ate, not working out, not keeping up with your doctor's appointment. A lot of people didn't know they had COVID until it was, too late or whatever. So it's just like, yo, that's what we need to be focused on, because who's to say there won't be a COVID.2? If it happened once, it could happen again.
See, and that's a fact, because it's like, and that's the thing that I hover over. Like, I'm like, if something else break out, physically, I want to be ready. Like, inward physically, like, I want to be healthy. I want to be ready, because COVID is just snatching people left and right, and like you said, poor health and stuff like that. But physically, I definitely want to be ready. Like, I had this saying on my screensaver. It was a warrior doesn't build his shield in the middle of battle. That's deep. A warrior doesn't build his shield in the middle of battle. Like, because you got to be ready. You got to be
ready before you have to be ready.
Exactly. You got to be game ready every single day. Like, every single day. Like, no day is practice. It's always game time. You get out, it's game time. It's game time, right? So that's what I'm in the process of doing now, because just like everybody else, inside this COVID pandemic, people have been putting on weight,
Yes,
right?
who?
Like,
I'm people. People is me.
Because we
so bad. Like, I got to get this weight off.
It's the way, like, we just chilling. We chilling, eating, like, you feel what I'm saying? So, like, definitely, healthcare is the best care.
Yeah. It's really getting rid of all the distractions. And when I say distractions, life was a big ass distraction before COVID. between the way that we work,
Yes.
the way that we live, from the when you get your free time, because we work so much, free time was just dedicated to straight party and straight, doing what you want to do, straight fun.
Yeah.
And now when it was a day, it came a point with either people being laid off or working from home, it was like, yo, every day felt like a weekend. And it was like,
That's
at first
crazy.
in the beginning, niggas wanted to be lit. Netflix was doing their job, dropping all
Lit.
the lit movies. I know DJs like around here, DJ Low Man, he was doing, a lot of the DJs were doing virtual parties. It was about fun Monday through Sunday, because we don't even realize we train our mind to believe that life is just this structured thing of just a bunch of work and just play. And not that it's a you got to live consciously. Every day you got to wake up and really say, this is what I want to do, regardless of the things that we have to do to physically survive. We have to be spiritually conscious on how we want to live our lives. And that even leads me to one of my lessons of just life is short. Because 2020, in addition to the deaths of just everybody who passed away due to COVID, the celebrity deaths, Kobe, Pop Smoke,
Kobe,
King Von.
King Von.
Like,
that's so crazy,
These are people that I follow. I used to see it. And it's not even just to talk about being a fan, but to see, like, a lot of the times, if you ask any average person, and I'll say even black person, money is our ultimate goal, success, comfort, luxury. So to see these celebrities, like, as much I would die for Vanessa Bryant's life, just when Kobe was here. Oh, she got a baller, he making millions, they got this, they got that. And now in 2020, seeing what happened to her, it's like, I not pity, but I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't be able to do it if I was her.
Can't go through it.
It's like,
that's so crazy, because when you got, like, with the celebrities, I don't know, like, because being that we, like, really tuned in with them, to a sense, like, with the celebrities, certain deaths just hit me crazy. Like Kobe death, crazy. Like, it puts you in a slump, as if one of your friends passed away.
On everything.
Kobe death, crazy. King Von death, crazy. Like, it's just
Chadwick
like
Boseman,
you see so much. Yes, you see so much. You see so much potential in these people, and it's like God saying something else. It's like, yo, all right, you did what I put you here to do. Whatever purpose you needed to happen, it happened. It ran its course. Now you gotta come back, and it's so crazy, because it's like, that's another reason, right? We can't live like every day is a party. We got to start serving our purpose now. We have to, because we don't know if tomorrow we're gonna wake up. I don't know if I'm gonna go tonight after I got off this phone right now on the camera. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like,
right. That's what, that's what their death taught me. I know you're Muslim, soon be a Muslim. The way that the Islamic religion makes you approach death. It's really, even though death never feels normal to us, even though it's always a part of the human experience, it just is one thing that people fear. What's the saying? Everybody want to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. But how I grew up, my dad passed away. He was, really strong in his Islamic faith. We always grew up knowing, like, talking about death as if it is a part of the human experience and normalizing it. So, and because of that, as hurtful as Kobe's death was for me, another one, Chadwick Boseman, just like you want to live like them, I wanted to die like them. The impact they had, the fact that they were able to go, and the honor. Like, I walked out in Kobe, and of course you would think, oh, he's a celebrity, duh. No, this man had billboard. In the second he was announced he was deaf, I walked out of Times Square, and you see billboards of everybody, Kobe, 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 Kobe. And it's like, yo, when you walk in your purpose, your purpose might not lead you to playing professional basketball, but I'm telling you, you will leave a mark. And that's like, if I'm gonna go out anyway, if I don't leave that type of impact, I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it taught you, more so than like, oh, avoiding death. It's like, yo, how do you want to go out? What do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, because there's no avoiding death.
Forget Kobe's, how much money he had. His kids, he could have had no money.
Exactly.
His kids could live off of the person he was. And then too, the luxury he had. We know the stories about Kobe before growing up, like, with him getting caught in that cheating scandal stuff. He got the opportunity to make that turnaround. When Kobe left, he was known as the family man.
Could you imagine? You just dropped some bars. Could you imagine if he wasn't able to make that turnaround to his fans, to his family, and then he just went like that? damn, that's deep. That's what I'm
Makes
saying.
a difference
Your
how you
purpose
live.
starts now. Like your purpose starts now. Like
That leads me to even King Von. Even though I've like looked into like, you know, a lot of the people that loved him and stuff like that.
yeah,
He did a lot of great things for the people he loved. What killed him was his old mentality. Because I truly don't believe that he thought, I'm gonna get out this car and get killed. Like, he came from the street. Like,
oh no,
he was looking at it like rap beef. And you know, to these street dudes that's in the rap game, they look at rap beef like kindergarten stuff because they actually from the hood and understand gang beef.
Different. Yeah.
So I really thought he was gonna just get out this car. This light work. This not like, you know, all I went through in Chicago, and that's how he ended up going. And I think what that his unfortunate death taught me was, it don't matter how far along you get, that one moment you try to slip back and revert to what God removed you from or got you through, that is going to be that one moment that's going to end everything. Of course, it might not always end in death, but just in general, like everyday life, when you see a moment where you know, a lot of people try to revert back or have a moment like, well, it's just everything that we learned in 2020. I promise you, any lesson that every individual lesson each of us had, when we walk into 2021 and you want to act like you ain't learned that lesson in 2020, I'm telling you, the universe is going to do you dirty. You're going to do that. I'm telling you. God didn't show, what is 2020? The year of vision. He showed us everything that we needed to see.
Showed us everything.
You can't walk into 2021 acting like you don't know. Ain't no excuses.
That's a fact. 2020 is the year of vision. He showed us everything. It's like, you don't like, trust your instincts, you know?
Yeah.
Like with the King Von thing or whatever. I wasn't there. I don't really know what he was feeling at that time, but just that reverting back to, if something feel off, I'm big on energy. If the energy is off, I'm not there. If I'm somewhere and I'm at an event, I'm doing something in the room, I'm reading the room all the time, and it started getting cloudy to me. I don't really like it. I'm moving about it because it, like, I feel like that's a different intuition that God didn't get. Like, boom, I'm warning you, like you chilling right now, but you know, like, and a lot of people don't do that because a lot of people still live in like everything is just fun instead of, like, you know, monitoring what's going on, being on your square at all times, and like really, like, you know, reading the room is, you know.
Can we get into you real quick? You said energy, and I know I used to throw around that word a lot way before COVID. Like, you know, the energy's off. I'm big on energy, but this year, I realized, like, sometimes when the energy is obviously off, I would, you know, go with what I feel. But there's times where I would not even just want to trust our energy, but I feel like a lot of times the human experience, as much as we are spirits, as we're able to feel, our intuition is real. We oftentimes still want to rely on something physical to second our instinct. So a lot of times, even though it was times where I said I'll go off my energy, but I'm telling you, there's more times where I went against my energy. But what 2020 did was, it was so uncomfortable. I didn't even care. Like, there was people I cut off, and on the outside, on the physical side of it, it looks like it's for no reason. But the energy, it was to the point where I feel like God made sure I feel things on a more intense level, where it's like, nah, I don't need nothing. I don't need to stick around to see you stab me in the back. I feel it, and that's enough for me to cut you off. That's enough to, like, distance myself.
That's a fact. Like, I've been real big on, like, I'm always like, you know, just growing up Muslim, just believing in what is for you is for you, and ain't nobody gonna get in front of that. Ain't gonna stop it. Ain't gonna do not one thing to it. Like, period, point blank. So I always been like on my energy stuff. Like, if I feel it, I'm not, I'm removing myself away from it, because at the end of the day, if I remove myself away from it, it was written for me to remove myself away from it. Like, you know, like, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes, like, there has been times that I went against, the energy, and that be another reason why I don't go against the energy, because I feel like the times where I went against it, it was like, it showed me something. Like, all right, see, that's what you get, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, that's trust your energy.
What else? What other lesson you have for us? I know we touched on time.
So my last one is love is not enough. The pandemic
Whew.
showed you that love is not enough. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that, right? You had take a couple, right? You got a couple, and you got one part of the couple, you got both parts of the couple always out and about and handling business, right? If you take two celebrities, always out handling business, take two regular people, they always out handling business, work, the schedules miss each other and stuff like that. But now you stuck, right? Now somebody got laid off. Now it's not a lot of work out there. Now y'all both up under each other all the time. And in the
Ooh,
beginning,
child.
you feel like you in the honeymoon stage, like, yo, damn, we all up under each other. This feel good. But then you start to get tired. And if you wasn't built on that from before in that relationship, then right now it's crumbling relationships because it's like, oh, I
Right.
spent too much time with him. And you really, in fact,
You
in
didn't
actuality,
realize
you
how
only
much
had a couple
you
months. Like,
didn't know about the person. Yeah.
exactly. Like, you didn't know how much, like, you quote unquote said you loved the person. That should have been enough to get you through any time. But that's what I mean by that love not being enough, because
I
you
think the
go and you
relationships,
cooped
I
up
think
with
every
the
relationship was shaken up. I'm sure. I'm single, but what I've seen happen was I just realized, like, we as millennials, or just maybe just humans in general, we tend to think love. We tend to base our love judgment based on service. I don't think rarely do we understand that you have to love someone for who they are, not what they serve, not what purpose they serve. So a lot of times you ask people, why you love this person? Oh, they do this for me. They always here for me. They always uplift me. They always buy me things. And it's like 2020, because everybody was still going through their individual battle. I think what people don't realize in relationships is, regardless whether you're married, your boyfriend, girlfriend, this person still has their own individual journey they're going on. You guys just make the commitment to go on your individual journeys together. But very much so, it is individual. And I think because 2020 was just such a year that God made everyone look within, it shook up a lot of relations, because I don't even think anyone had the time to, like, it's not about your relationship at this point. This person is battling whatever they're battling with in the way that they know how to battle it. And I think it made people look at the relationship like it was the downfall, but it probably wasn't a relationship. It was your approach.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a fact.
Love is
What you
that, but
got? You got
I
another
would
one?
say being single, and I think a lot of single people felt this. Yeah, I wanted to go more into love is not enough. With a lot of single people, I speak to single people. I think what it taught you is made you really confirm what you look for in a potential partner. Because I feel like, just even elaborating on more what I said, like, I felt like the what I looked for in a relationship was based on how the person would service me, not who they were as a person. And I realized with all that I had to battle during 2020, it made me realize, like, yo, I have to deal with people who, I have to be with someone who understands, who can understand from their own perspective what I battled as an individual. Like, there has to be some type of understanding. A lot of childhood trauma.
Some type of empathy. Yeah, exactly. And that
childhood
goes back to
traumas.
being, that goes back to, like, us, like, the reason, like, you take somebody like a King Von, the reason that I felt hurt, like, I was like, I can't say I felt like Dirt, because Dirt was torn up about it, but I felt like somebody in his circle hurt because he came from the same struggle that I came from. And to see, I know a lot of people that, you know, growing up, they didn't wise up and they lost their life like that. So I seen it and I'm just like, damn, was there anybody else around to, like, tell them, like, yo, you gotta wisen up, this can't go this way, because this don't never end good or whatever. But yeah.
That's crazy that you said that, because it's like, I feel like you giving that example, it just made me think, like, just because I used to be the type of person where it was like, oh, I love people for who they are, in a sense, like, but if you on something that I'm not on, or I'm like, I have knowledge about something, I used to be the type to let people freely do whatever they want. Like, I have my reasons why I wouldn't do it, but if you do it, that's you. But I realized with this awakening that we got in 2020, you're not only responsible for you upholding what God revealed to you, you're also responsible for upholding those around you, those that you love. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, this was the year to create your tribe, to create the things that you stand for. You have to make sure the people around you stand for it, or they can't stand next to you. Because the people around you are just as much as a liability as you can be to yourself.
That's a fact.
So I think we got through all of the lessons.
Yeah.
Well, the main lessons. I
Y'all,
know everyone has their
all right.
individual ones. So what we doing?
So look, for y'all tuning in, right? And that's already tuned in. We have a segment, uh, it's a dope segment, right? It's a dope segment. It's called what's the segment
What's
called
the
again?
verdict?
What's the
What's the
verdict?
verdict?
What's the verdict? We ain't gonna tell you how it go. We're just going to do it. So, what's the verdict? Subject: my quarantine dilemma. Right? Hi, my name is Tiffany, and I need some advice. My boyfriend and I had a long distance relationship, but a month before COVID really hit us, we moved in together. So when everything locked down, that really forced us to be together at home nonstop. I'm noticing some things that I didn't notice before. He's very messy, talks down to me, and sometimes has a temper. He's not the sweet romantic man I remember before moving in together. I know times are usually stressful, so I'm trying to be as understanding as possible. But I don't know if I can deal with this for the rest of my life. I moved across country for this man. Should I wait and see how he treats me when the
Girl.
world is somewhat normal again? Or should I take what I'm seeing at face value and leave before it gets any deeper? What's the verdict?
Whoa, I was expecting that one. Honey.
So Tiffany, Tiff, listen.
What you got to say, Tiff? Because I got a lot to say.
Let me get my gavel, because we gotta come up with a verdict here. All right. Tiff, what you in a relationship for? All right. This goes back to our is love enough, right? I can go at this many different ways, but I'm gonna ask you what you're in a relationship for, right? Do you love this man, right? Um, have you spoke to this man about him, about the things like him being messy, him talking down to you, him just not being that romantic guy? Excuse me, I can say a lot of men has this issue where it comes where everything is like the honeymoon phase when we're trying to obtain you, but once we get you, it's like, all right, I'm not about to really like keep up with it. So I ask you, what exactly are you in it for? Did you bring it up to your boyfriend and let him know, like, look, this is how I'm feeling? 'Cause that's the first thing. Communication is key. Did you speak with him and let him know, like, this is how I'm feeling, and let's try to develop a plan to move forward? But if you did do that and he's not with that and he's still doing the same thing, like we said, 2020 taught us a lot. Go off your energy, and my verdict would be get rid of him. Get rid of him. If you spoke with him and he's still not trying to, meet your needs, get rid of him.
Who, Tiffany girl? I might have to agree with Joc, okay? Because, I always say you can change habits, you can't change character. And a lot of times in relationships, when you experience conflict or whatever in relationship, a downfall in a relationship, I think the ultimate battle that I always had is knowing whether, okay, is this who this person is? Or is this something that we need to discuss and come to a mutual agreement? Because everything is not up for negotiation. And the first thing entering a relationship, before you enter a relationship, you have to come to terms with yourself on what you're willing to negotiate. You have to have your set principles, your set morals. So the messiness, that to me is a habit. That's a habit you could change. You live with somebody, you talk to him about you messing up, he gonna learn to be more, you have to live together. He'll learn to be more clean around you. Talking down on you when he mad, that's more character. Ooh. That's more character. And honestly, if that's something that you say you don't like, that's unavoidable because life is about ups and downs. Yeah, 2020 was a rough year, but it don't mean there's no more rough moments or years ahead of us. And you have to know, like, I never start liking a guy until I see how he acts when he's mad with me. Never. I don't care if he's showing up with roses. I don't start catching feelings to someone until I see how they are when they're upset with me, or just
Because
upset.
that's the truth. Because that's the true them right
Because
there.
that's when the real love shines. Because regardless of how mad someone is, yeah, you're gonna have your moments, you're gonna go off. But what parts of you are they not willing to hurt? And I think trying to intentionally hurt someone's feelings when you're not in a good space, or the relationship is not a good space, is not
Toxic.
It's toxic. So I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
horrible.
I think before you even decide whether you need to leave him or not, you need to decide with yourself. Like just said, what are you in a relationship for? What are you willing to negotiate? I think where you're lucky at, because I was going to say, Dan, you moved mad fast. What you said they was dating for a month and they moved in together, but I would say you're lucky because you're finding out what a lot of people find out 3 kids later, or a lot of people find out a whole wedding later.
Yeah.
Or 10 years later, 20 years later. So you know what you know.
Has been
What do you
good
want
for
to
that.
do with it?
Yeah. No,
You
that's
learn
true.
what you needed to learn about him. Now it's your choice to decide whether you're willing to compromise what you don't want or not. So
That's a fact.
girl, I
That's
want to see what happens with this. But yeah, email us again to let us know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely email us again. Keep us updated on, what's going on and stuff like that. But that's our verdict.
You guys make sure to tune in. We'll be dropping this episode. This is the first episode, but it's going to be a weekly episode. So there's more to come. So much more. We'll have guests. Just more of remaining ourselves and being true to ourselves. So I want to thank y'all personally for tuning in. Joc, you got anything to say to the listeners?
Just keep rocking with us. It's gonna be big. Just keep rocking with us. Like Kadi just said, y'all just turned in to the Right to Remain Yourself. If anybody listening, want a verdict on any situation, y'all definitely can email us at therighttoremainyourself@gmail.com. That's
Right.
the right to remain yourself at gmail.com. In the subject bar, put the verdict, and then, send your story.
We'll talk from there. All right. And we have our Instagram page. We'll drop it. We can edit it into the video because we got to go live with the Instagram page. So you can follow us. And tune in. What day did we decide to drop the episodes? Did we say Wednesdays or Thursdays?
I think we said like Wednesdays. Or did we settle on like Mondays? Did we settle on like Mondays? Like the top of the week?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Wednesdays. We did settle on
All right, y'all probably
be
getting this on a Monday, and we'll be going live every Monday. Well, not live, but we'll be dropping our episodes every Monday. Yeah. So tune in and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you'll be watching this podcast on. And make sure you download our podcast on all platforms. Apple Music, we'll be on Spotify, we'll be on everything. So yeah, we're set. Thank you guys.